What's up, guys? So this is a article in the Socialist magazine. It's from Tom Smykovsky, and it says, when communists sue communists, should communists ever weaponize the capitalist state's legal system and intellectual property laws against communists? So on May 15th, 2023, a lawsuit was filed against the American Council of Bolsheviks by the private for-profit company called Ideological Fightback, Inc., claiming to represent the Party of Communists USA, PCUSA. PCUSA was formed by Angelo D'Angelo in a 2014 ideological split from CPUSA, Communist Party USA. The lawsuit is seeking $75,000 in damages for what amounts to a dispute over Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube accounts, various domain names, and trademark infringement. While PCUSA has been using the name Ideological Fightback since at least 2014, according to records in the state of New York, it was first legally registered as a corporation on March 1st, 2023, just 2.5 months before the lawsuit itself was filed. D'Angelo is listed as the only member of the corporation. On June 12, 2023, Justin Stewart, the only individual named in the lawsuit, filed his response with the court. He denied most of the allegations, issues, and claims except for the statements of fact. And as of the published date of this article, the court has not posted any additional records or orders in the case. Interestingly, the intent to file the lawsuit was stated publicly by PCUSA member Alex Dillard, at least as early as September 8th, 2022, which is itself at least a month before any legal action was taken on behalf of PCUSA in the form of cease and desist letters. In a public statement posted by Dillard, it was claimed that ACB split from PCUSA and had maintained control over various websites and social media assets. Dillard also stated, "We have the addresses of these individuals, and we have a lawyer ready," suggesting the corporation was only officially filed with the state of New York to provide the appearance of legal standing necessary to file the lawsuit and may not actually represent the will of PCUSA as an organization. When contacted for comment, PCUSA leader D'Angelo responded in shock, shouting "No!" When asked if he had any knowledge of the lawsuit, shortly before hanging up the phone, after responding "What?" to each follow-up question. Why would the head of a communist party have no knowledge of a lawsuit filed in his name? In a Facebook post by Justin Stewart on September the 2nd, 2022, it is implied that D'Angelo is perhaps suffering from cognitive decline, stating that he is an old man who claims other people's work as his own and who can barely keep his thoughts straight. So who's running PCUSA, and who filed the NY articles of incorporation for Ideological Fightback in D'Angelo's name? The only individual admitting knowledge of this lawsuit publicly is Alex Dillard, who himself has this very strange connection to PCUSA. Alex Dillard is one of only 2 individuals listed as the administrators on a host of strange websites for front groups that appear to be non-entities, imitating defunct workers' orgs from 100 years ago. The other individual connected to these is Chris Beauvais, who is listed as the copy editor for The Worker, one of many publications under Ideological Fightback, Inc. Both Dillard and Beauvais reside in California, not New York, where Ideological Fightback is incorporated. So all of this again, I'm going to interject here, all of this again, to me, points to Caleb Maupin. Dillard resides in a fucking suburb of San Jose, Sunnyvale. I believe Beauvais is also in Sunnyvale as well. So they're in a suburb of San Jose called Sunnyvale. They're not in New York. But who is in New York? Caleb Maupin. And in upstate New York, you have Scott Ritter. That's where article is taking us. They are operatives who are working with Caleb Maupin, who are working with Scott Ritter, who are working with a bunch of deep state feds. That's who Alex Dillard and Chris Beauvais are. They're feds. They're glowies. And they're doing a shitty job of covering up their tracks. The strange organization of fake front org websites includes the American Student Union from 1935, the American Peace Information Center from 1950, the Movement for People's Democracy, not to be confused with the Movement for People Party, which is Nick Brana's grift, Women for Racial and Economic Equality from 1946, the Labor United Educational League, which claims to be affiliated with the WFTU and FSM, the Korean Friendship Association, not to be confused with the same organization of the same name and logo formed in 2000 in Spain, the American Veterans Union, New Outlook Publishers, not to be confused with New Outlook, with The Outlook, a paper that folded in 1928, U.S. Friends of the Soviet People, not to be confused with Friends of the Soviet Union, an org founded in 1927, the Progressive Center for Pan American Project, and the most offensive fake org, United Jewish People's Fraternal Order. You can't make this shit up. Like, literally, the United Jewish People's Fraternal Order. Like, what the fuck? Most of or all of these websites are WordPress based, utilize the same Astra theme, are hosted on the same network, reference the same phone number and P.O. box, and include Alex Dillard and Chris Beauvais as administrative users. Discoverable by querying the WordPress API for the user list. Also noting they have a handful of followers across social media. Some of the sites listed an address of 720 Seneca Street, Suite number 106, Seattle, Washington, 98101, the office of PCUSA's John Reed Center. The address also listed as the headquarters of The Worker, one of PCUSA's magazines, claiming to be a continuation of The Daily Worker, a paper founded in 1924. That's hella sus. Office space lists the average rent in the building around $10,000 per month. So, Beauvais and Alex Dillard are like 19-year-olds. They ain't got no motherfucking money for $10,000 to rent an office space. That's pretty spendy for Seattle. Like, I know hella people in Seattle, and I know where Seneca Street is. Right? Jesus Christ made Seattle under protest. It's over by like Union and stuff. Like, it's between Madison and Union in that sort of area. Made Seattle. Yeah. It's between Madison. Seneca's between Madison and Union. Like, I literally know where that is because I've been to Seattle a gazillion times. Seattle's basically like a second home for me. And my dad spent his teenage years in Seattle. And I go down and visit. So I know where that is. And I've never seen any either Alex Dillard or Chris Beauvais down there. And the fact that they caught the office rent for office space cost $10,000 a month. Ain't no 19-year-old got that kind of money. Like, think about that. if you're paying like $900 or $1,000 on an apartment already, and if you're a 19-year-old, you're probably in college, so you're probably, your tuition covers room and board, you're probably living in dorms and shit. Like, ain't no 19-year-old like Alex Dillard and Chris Beauvais got that kind of money to rent no sort of office. No, fuck out of here with that. So, while having these fake front orgs exist simply for the sake of disguising a communist organization would be somewhat normal, that isn't the case here. These sites all exist to shield what is essentially a memberless non-entity for the Center for Political Innovation, founded by Caleb Maupin, an exposed sex pest and LaRouche cult member who goes out of his way to encourage his followers to get involved in expressing support for Russia and blatant government honeypots. Maupin himself has admitted to being funded by Russian nationalists while claiming to be a target of the U.S. government. Oh, that's an interesting development to the story. This is all worth noting because of the original impetus behind the PCUSA and ACB split, which brought about the lawsuit, was a number of accusations made against PCUSA leadership, including shielding alleged rapists and federal informants. These orgs also serve to project the appearance of worker involvement in anti-communist events such as Rage Against the War Machine, which was organized by the fascist Mises Caucus and Nick Brana's scandal-ridden People's Party. This anti-communist alignment becomes self-evident when you look at the list of campaigns and links featured on each website. For example, Jeff Young, a LaRouche cult member who ran for office in Kentucky, and the long list of links to various other anti-communist or crypto-fascist organizations. Some examples include Black Hammer and their paper Hammer Times, Infrared and their InfraWiki, which exists to harass and defame communists, the Schiller Institute, a LaRouche cult front org, the blog of Scott Ritter, a 4-time convicted sex offender, and various other anti-communist and right-wing blogs and podcasts, etc. Very prominently listed is a link to California United Front, an organization promoting many patriotic socialist and crypto-libertarian talking points, and by the looks of their promo video, featuring a membership consisting of entirely individuals from Caleb Maupin's Center for Political Innovation and PCUSA. So perhaps this isn't actually communists suing communists, but anti-communists and wreckers acting on the behalf of the capitalist state, pretending to be communists and weaponizing the bourgeoisie legal system to harass and attack working people. This isn't a new tactic. In fact, this is what's known as a SLAPP, a strategic lawsuit against public participation. The goal isn't actually to win a lawsuit to be awarded damages, but to intimidate minorities, dissidents, and the marginalized into shutting up and ending their critiques and challenges against the servants of the ruling class. That looks hella sus, dude. That looks hella sus. So let's click on all of these. So this is Dillard and Gavin Lockard. This is their organization, the front group. This is their front group. American Student Union. And they want to steal your information. They want to steal your information. So, the Pacific District here. So they have all these fucking districts. Again, so this is kind of like Patsock racist propaganda. Like, they don't even mention the struggle of black people and indigenous peoples and Pacific Islander peoples. I mean, they briefly mention it in one line, but yeah, it's hella sus. It's hella sus, dude. So, okay, back to American. When you know it has that sort of loading symbol on it, you know it's sus. And they claim to be founded in 1950. But these guys are sus. Who is Ryan Moe? You know, that's... I wonder who... It says... Author Ryan M.O. That's a fake name. I can tell that's a fake name. Who the fuck is that? It has no fucking photo. It's someone using a fucking pseudonym. Someone's using a pseudonym here. Ryan M.O. So, here's another article by Ryan M.O. And they're doing a statement with the United Jewish People's Fraternal Order. So they're praising they're fucking wreckers and glow. So this is one of the front groups. These were all the front groups. We're exposing them. And they out themselves as Zionists, too. Here's their mission statement. The United Jewish People's Fraternal Order traces its founding to the Jewish People's Fraternal Order, an affiliate of the International Workers' Order, founded in 1930 by working-class Jewish Americans in the secular, non-Zionist Jewish tradition. See? So, look at this. Non-Zionist is not the same thing as anti-Zionist. Non-Zionism is basically liberal Zionism. Anti-Zionism is the opposite of Zionism. It's the opposition of Zionism. Again, big giveaway. Non-Zionist instead of anti-Zionist. And then they want to see the end of, they say they want to see the end of anti-Semitism, fascism, racism. They don't mention Islamophobia, do they? Do they? Do they? They don't mention Islamophobia. They don't mention, it says racism, but they don't mention xenophobia. So if you're not mentioning Islamophobia and xenophobia, then, again, that's a bit sus, right? And then they have articles about Julius Rosenberg. I don't even know who that is, right? They have all sorts of articles. So, and here's something that's more sus. This is by Ed Volody, supposedly some sort of Polish Jew, but I think it's a deep state Fed who's using a pseudonym. I think he's a deep state Fed who's using a pseudonym. So, and they're expressing support with Zionist squatters. That's hella sus. I mean, even if these Zionist squatters are Zionists. And they said so the so-called, this front group, this is totally fugazi, is expressing solidarity with the masses of Zionist squatters who are protesting all over the country against the attempt of the new government to implement changes that would imperil legal protections for all citizens and lead to fascism. They sound like liberal Zionists. The United Jewish People's Fraternal Order, they are Zionists. They're all tied to Caleb Maupin and Scott Ritter. And Scott Ritter is a fucking asset of the Mossad. Like, these are, like, all of these websites look the same. It says most or all of these websites are WordPress based, utilize the same Astra theme, and are hosted on the same network. Reference the same phone number and P.O. box, and include Alex Dillard and Chris Beauvais as administrative users. Look at this shit. So this, and they claim to be, this is a, and they want you to give them money. Like, don't give them money. Like, I wonder if I clicked on their YouTube, maybe I shouldn't. And they claim to have contacts and receive official information from Pyongyang. I'm calling big fat bullshit on that. Travel. Yeah, I'm calling travel to DPRK. I'm calling big fat bullshit on it. This sounds like big fat bullshit. Right? Big fat bullshit on that. So this is the American Veterans Union. Or should I say the ex-war criminals? This shit's a front group. This shit's a front group, dude. And you can contact them. These are feds and wreckers, dude. And the funny thing is, the fucking Maupinites, they accuse everybody else of being wreckers. They accuse everybody else. So, let's click on that. Caleb Maupin, funded by Ben Swan and Russia's TV Novosti. And this is Nazbol Vortex by Saturn. It's on Praxis. I don't know anything about Praxis. I believe Saturn refers to Andrew Saturn, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can clarify me on the comments. But this is Caleb Maupin's ties to Russian nationalists. So right-wing Russian nationalists. Caleb Maupin, funded by Ben Swan and Russia's TV Novosti. Let's take a look.
I work for Rebel Media Productions, which is a company that's now registered with the U.S. Department of Justice as a foreign lobbyist for Russia. My boss is Ben Swan, the TV news reporter who got fired for talking about Pizzagate on local news in Washington, D.C. He's now the director of Rebel News Media Incorporated, and I'm his employee. I get paid a salary for that. I also have the money from YouTube and from Patreon and stuff. So we have resources.
Wow. So, Maupin admitting that he's being paid by the Pizzagate guy, Ben Swan, and Russia's TV Novosti.
I don't need some message from God to tell me where we're headed. I'm just trying to tell you what's right.
Cringy motherfucker. Cringy motherfucker. And why the fuck are the people in CPI wearing red berets? You're not Basque. You're not fucking Basque. If anybody should be wearing red berets, it's me, because I have some Basque ancestry from the province of Navarra. Like, if you're not Basque, don't wear no red berets, dude. Wear whatever the clothing of your nationality is. But look at this goofy fucking snake oil salesman in the suit. Like, evil ginger. I mean, he's an evil ginger. That's what he is.
Right in front of your face. It's right in front of your face, if you can see it.
And these sycophantic motherfuckers are clapping at everything he's saying.
Right in front of your face. It's right in front of your face, if you can see it. A storm is coming. A storm is going to come.
And those are the paid ushers. The people in the front are the paid. Those guys in the red berets are like paid ushers that are paid to sit there so the room doesn't look empty, basically. Because people know Maupin's a creep. People know that he's a fucking Fed and a wrecker. And that he's a right-wing extremist and a LaRoucheite. So he pays people to wear red berets. You know, like the type your abuelo from Bilbao would wear. And yeah. And just sit in the front of the audience. Those are the ushers. I'm pretty sure those are the paid ushers who just sit there to make it look like the room's not empty. And I think a lot of these guys are paid actors that Maupin pays so the room doesn't look empty. Actually, most of the people. So not just the people in red berets, but all of these people are mostly paid actors, I believe, so that the room doesn't look empty.
A storm is going to come. I'm going to be open and honest with all of you right now, because I doubt myself sometimes.
Really? Really? You doubt yourself, Caleb? Tell me more. Tell me more when I interrogate you. When we shut you down for being a Fed, dude. Because you know that's going to happen. Yeah, I don't want to hear no more of his bullshit. Let's see what this... So, PCUSA contacts... So this is... Let me see. So this is... I think these were the accusations brought against PCUSA. Interesting. So, and I think Maupin this is an example of Maupin being a wrecker. And then here's I don't know if the link to Jeff Young works. So there's Jeff Young linked for the Movement of the People's Democracy. And their affiliates, Labor Educational League, Women for Racial and Economic Equality, U.S. Friends of the Soviet People, American Student Union, American Peace Information Center, the United Jewish People's Fraternal Order. I mean, that name just by itself sounds hella cringe, right? So, and it's made by Astro WordPress. If I click on that, I wonder if I can see. No, I don't think it'll let me see. Look at... So, here's how you know he's a Fed. So, Jeff Young grew up in Marblehead, Massachusetts, and he moved to Lexington, Kentucky. Like, who the fuck moves to Kentucky from Massachusetts? Like, Kentucky's kind of a shithole, you know? So that's a red flag. And then he's been a member... So, he became a member of the anti-war movement after taking 2 courses at MIT on U.S. foreign policy with Noam Chomsky. By the way, Noam Chomsky is a Zionist. He was funded by the Congress for Cultural Freedom. Noam Chomsky lived on a kibbutz. Like, that's sus. And it won't tell you so he's a Democrat, and he's endorsed by the Covert Action magazine and Movement for People's Democracy. Covert Action, that's like LaRouchites, I think. But this dude is sus. Look how fucking cringe he looks. Unless California United Front. Anti-globalism. That sounds... Defend constitutional freedoms. That sounds like Patsock shit. Anti-globalism. Land reform. So, their idea of land reform is stealing sovereign indigenous lands. Defend constitutional freedoms and anti-globalism. That sounds like right-wing libertarian shit. And it said they're tabling outside Jimmy Dore's stand-up event, July 23rd, 2023, at Cobb's Comedy Club, 915 Columbus Ave in San Francisco. And they're having a View or End Poverty in California web conference on Rumble. That sounds like Nazi shit. And they're affiliated with the Center for Political Innovation, the Movement for People's Democracy, the American Student Union, and all these other fucking front groups. And I believe Dillard and Beauvais, that's them right there. This is sus. Hella sus.
Free your son! Free your son! Free your son!
I think that's Dillard, the one with the glasses. That's Beauvais. That's Beauvais, that's Dillard. I'm pretty sure. I could be mistaken.
The end of the genocidal neoliberal system has come to a catastrophic hyperinflation and the white-hot danger of thermonuclear war. In response, X+.
Again, this is fucking Patsock shit. And Patsocks are Nazis in disguise.
Toward a new, just...
That's Chris Beauvais.
Expanding China's Belt and Road Initiative into a global mission. Realizing this potential demands a united front.
That's Ryan Cotton. He is a pharmacist in Oakland. He is also involved with Caleb Maupin and the Center for Political Innovation. He is also a Patsock and a racist. In fact, he's not originally from Oakland. He's from somewhere, I believe he's from somewhere in either North Dakota or South Dakota, and he relocated to Oakland. That's why that guy looks familiar. That's Ryan Cotton, the pharmacist from Oakland, who is a Patsock and a crypto-Nazi, and affiliated with Caleb Maupin. That's who that is.
To halt the U.S. NATO march toward Armageddon war and put an orderly end to the city of London and Wall Street's global spending.
A program to end poverty in California.
Why are Americans paying the cost?
I believe that might have been LaRouche speaking on the screen. I don't know, in the black and white clip. But these fucking Patsocks are flying the racist ass American flag, which is anti-indigenous and anti-black. And again, Patsocks are wreckers and feds.
Zelensky, $100 million every 24 hours. Why are they playing with our lives? Defund Ukraine. U.S. out of NATO. No nuclear war.
So this is clearly Dillard, Beauvais, Ryan Cotton, and Caleb Maupin all working together. And they're clearly all fascists. They're clearly all Nazis. And the fact that they're on Rumble and not on YouTube, that says a lot. Just saying. That shit, this whole video is fucking cringy. It's hella cringe. And that's probably whatever freeways in Oakland it looks like. Hella sketch. Ryan, yeah. That's 100% correct. Especially the fact that Ryan Cotton's in it, and Alex Dillard and Chris Beauvais. And Dillard and Beauvais are from the San Jose area, and Ryan Cotton's from Oakland. Or he resides in Oakland. He's not from there originally. He's a fucking transplant. Again, that's telling. That's telling. And then you have the Rage Against the War Machine. So, too often, many will claim the anti-war label. So left needs to take back the anti-war label. There's a current trend in online discourse focusing entirely upon labels like anti-imperialist and anti-war, while ignoring the fact that capitalism is the basis for imperialism, and to be anti-war in the modern world requires one to be anti-capitalist. Of course. Too often, many will claim the anti-war label when what they really mean is anti-establishment. They would happily wage war for their own benefit, and they're by no means anti-capitalist or anti-imperialist. The upcoming Rage Against the War Machine rally, sponsored by the Libertarian Party and the Movement for the People's Party, features guests such as Tulsi Gabbard and Jackson Hinkle, two individuals who are not only anti-capitalist, but explicitly anti-communist. Gabbard is an active head of U.S. Army PSYOPs group at Fort Bragg and is a member of a strange religious sect, the fucking Hindutvas. So this is Tulsi Gabbard. And I know...
Carolina, and as you know, yesterday, December 7th, was the anniversary of Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. And so I've just been taking some time to reflect and to think about my brothers and sisters in arms who were killed on that day. And I'm just wrapped into a world war that resulted in the deaths and suffering of millions of people. And I've been...
You know, there's a reason why she went mainland, right? There's a reason why she's in the mainland now. Right? People in Hawaii hate Tulsi Gabbard. I have friends in Hawaii, okay? I have friends who grew up in Hawaii, and they hate Tulsi Gabbard. So, yeah. Tulsi Gabbard's ties to the Science of Identity Foundation, a controversial religious sect that some people call an abusive cult. That's hella sus. On Tuesday, October 11th, Tulsi Gabbard announced she's leaving the Democratic Party, accusing it to be being hostile to people of faith and spirituality. The former congresswoman from Hawaii was raised in the Science of Identity Foundation, an offshoot of the Hare Krishna religious movement. Her ties to the group have led to some to speculate about its influence on her political beliefs. So, if you don't know, Tulsi Gabbard's dad is Samoan. Her mom's a Palangi, right? Palangi means European in Samoan. I'm from Alaska. There's a huge Samoan community in Anchorage. That's how I know what that means, right? Obviously, I'm of Spanish and French descent, largely. other things there too. Tulsi Gabbard has strong words for anyone who asks about the religious sect she grew up in. The former congresswoman and her staffers have repeatedly claimed that the media interest in the Science of Identity Foundation and its guru's influence on Gabbard amount to Hindu-phobic bigotry. Gabbard lodged a similar line of attack when she announced on Tuesday she is leaving the Democratic Party, accusing the party of being hostile to people of faith and spirituality. I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party now that it is under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness who divide us by racializing every issue and stoke anti-white racism, she said on an episode of her self-titled podcast. Wow, she sounds like she's using some Nazi talking points, because the only people that I know who talk about anti-white racism are Nazis, are literal Nazis. Gabbard, who made history in 2012 when she became the first American Samoan and first practicing Hindu in Congress, also denounced what she said were Democrats' open border policies and anti-police rhetoric. Sounds like she's a Fed and a glowy. Tulsi Gabbard has historically been reluctant to speak about her spiritual journey in SIF, which has roots in the Hare Krishna movement that exploded in the U.S. in the 1960s and 70s. But her upbringing in the religious group, as well as her ties to its leader, Chris Butler, has left many wondering how it has shaped her beliefs politically and otherwise. And that's Chris Butler of the SIF. SIF evolved from the Hare Krishna movement. The Hare Krishna movement was started in 1966 by A.C. Bhaktivedanta, a 70-year-old Indian man who landed in New York with just 40 rupees to his name. Bhaktivedanta preached and chanted in Tompkins Square Park in the East Village, tapping into the counterculture spirit of the 1960s. The movement swiftly became the largest branch of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, part of the Hindu school of thought. Hare Krishnas believe that chanting mantras, vegetarianism, and yoga can awaken the sleeping soul and enable them to experience an internal connection with the Supreme God. And if you notice on Gabbard's on her Twitter page, it says that she's into yoga, and I think that's her ties to Hare Krishna and Hindutva. Chris Butler was a young yoga teacher and surfer in his early 20s when the Hare Krishna movement reached Hawaii. He had already amassed a small following of his own, but found it difficult to attract new followers against the mainstream movement. In 1971, Butler met Bhaktivedanta and agreed to a trade. He would turn his disciples over and become an initiate of Hare Krishna. Butler gained a new name, Siddhaswarupanara, which means spiritual form which is full of bliss. When Butler clashed with his guru, deviating from Hindu principles, Butler married and instructed his followers not to shave their heads or wear robes, while Bhaktivedanta chided him for his non-orthodox teachings. When Bhaktivedanta died in 1977, Butler splintered from the Hare Krishna movement to start the Science of Identity Foundation. He began to further de-emphasize traditional Hindu texts and practices and began to expound his own controversial views. Butler taught that homosexuality is evil, using virulent homophobic rhetoric, and that public schools and the outside world were not to be trusted. Children of followers were homeschooled, and in some cases, including Gabbard, were later sent to schools the SIF created in the Philippines. The SIF had amassed a tightly knit community of around 1,000 followers in Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, Aotearoa, and Southeast Asia. Among them were Mike and Carol Gabbard, who would name one of their daughters after Tulasi, the Sanskrit word for the holy basil herb that appears on the Bhagavad Gita as an offering to the Lord. And there's Hare Krishna founder A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada at a parade in 1974 in California. And some ex-members describe SIF as an abusive cult. Tulsi Gabbard and her siblings were raised as Hindus and vegetarians, she told the Indo-American News before her first run for Congress. She grew up largely among fellow disciples, singing or chanting Hindu songs on the beach, the New Yorker reported. Gabbard met her first husband and her current spouse, freelance cinematographer Abraham Williams, in SIF, according to New York Magazine. While Gabbard described her experience growing up in the group as one that was seemingly positive, some other ex-members have described themselves as survivors of a cult. I was raised to believe Chris Butler was God's voice on earth, and if you questioned or offended him in any way, you were effectively offending God. Someone who identifies as a former member of the SIF wrote in a 2017 Medium post. Questioning the leader was spiritual suicide, which was seen as worse than death. Another member told New York Magazine that Butler was vulgar and vindictive, excoriating people for small slip-ups like driving poorly or failing to clean water cups properly. Butler has denied these claims, and Gabbard told the New Yorker that these experiences didn't chalk up to her own. I've never heard him say anything hateful or say anything mean about anybody, Gabbard says. I can speak to my own personal experience and, frankly, my gratitude to him for the gift of this wonderful spiritual practice he has given to me and to so many people. Both Butler and Gabbard also said the foundation is a resource, not a religious organization, though Butler acknowledges that he does have disciples as Jagat Guru, or teacher of the world, the New Yorker reported. Hella sus. Gabbard's identity, politics, and multiculturalism. Gabbard has downplayed the influence of Butler, telling the New Yorker she had many different spiritual teachers and continues to. But she acknowledged that he had shaped her Hindu identity, referring to him as Guru Dev, or spiritual guide. Gabbard also told the New York Times, in 2019 that Butler and his work still guide her. The way Gabbard has presented herself to the public is caught up in the fraught ways America has come to understand multiculturalism, the idea we should honor all cultures and faiths, according to Radhika Parameswaran, professor of Cultural and Media Studies at Indiana University, Bloomington. What multiculturalism doesn't look like, doesn't take into account, are the issues of social justice, inequity, or oppression. Or if it does in a very tokenistic surface way, Parameswaran told Insider. When you think about somebody like Gabbard and her adoption of Hinduism, you also have to peel back the layers and look at the way the religion can be used as a tool of oppression. While it would be speculation to determine another person's private beliefs, Parameswaran said she doesn't see how Gabbard's spiritual background could not have had an influence on her politics. Criticisms of Islamophobia and anti-gay rhetoric. In addition to his homophobic attitudes, Butler has espoused toxic views towards Muslims, calling them demons. Throughout her career, Gabbard has made herself a prominent ambassador of American Hinduism, forging relationships with Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and other Indian leaders. She has drawn criticism for defending Modi's party which has been accused of being complicit in widespread violence against Muslims. Some have also directly criticized Gabbard for stoking Islamophobia with public statements she has made linking Islamic beliefs with acts of terrorism. Gabbard has also been accused of flip-flopping her stance on gay marriage after acknowledging her past work with a known anti-gay organization that promoted controversial conversion therapy. Gabbard renounced her previously held anti-gay views. However, in April 2022, Gabbard defended Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis' Don't Say Gay bill, which has come under fire for being discriminatory. At the time of publish, Gabbard's team did not provide comment to the story. That sounds hella sus. That sounds hella sus. So Gabbard is an active head of U.S. Army PSYOPs, of the U.S. Army PSYOPs group at Fort Bragg, and is a member of a strange religious sect, while Hinkle is a YouTube streamer with connections to the LaRouche cult.
Jackson Hinkle.
So this is the LaRoucheite Schiller Institute, and they are inviting Jackson Hinkle to speak to them. Look at his goofy Republican-looking ass. Look at his goofy, bougie, suit and tie wearing ass. Does that look like someone you could trust? Hell no.
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
He looks like a total douchebag. So, Gabbard is an active head of the U.S. Army PSYOPs group at Fort Bragg and is a member of a strange religious sect, while Hinkle is a YouTube streamer with connections to the LaRouche cult and Trump sycophants like Roger Stone. Interesting. He wants Roger Stone to be Speaker of the House. And he's like, so he's also got the Orthodox Christian cross in his bio on Twitter. So there's a trend of like Orthodox right wingers being Orthodox Christians to like Heimbach, Matt Heimbach, for example, the notorious German American Nazi. There's a pattern of people like that being Orthodox Christians to cover up their Nazism, and I'm wondering if Hinkle's the same way. Gabbard, who receives a large portion of her campaign contributions from the military-industrial complex, has long been a supporter of the war in Syria, and Hinkle often panders to reactionaries and military interventionists. For example, posting that he would shoot the Chinese balloon out of the sky. So this is who's giving open secrets. So Gabbard from the defense contractors receives $61,000. Between 2015 and 2016, she received $61,000 total from defense contractors, and $17,250 from natural resources, $9,000 from lawyers and lobbyists. Now, if we break that down to contributors, then you will see, Lockheed Martin. And she was contacted by Lockheed Martin lobbyists. So she received $10,000 from Lockheed Martin. Tulsi Gabbard, I believe in 2005 to 2016, Lockheed Martin was her 10th largest donor, or tied for her 10th largest donor. And she received $10,000 from Lockheed Martin. Let's see. I don't know who the Sparta Group is, but they sound like they could be a military contractor, and she received $10,400 from them. So Boeing, her 9th largest contributor, gave her $10,145 total. Okay. Lockheed Martin gave Tulsi in 2015 and 2016 $10,000. VoteVets.org gave Tulsi $10,000. This is sketch on her part. Hella sketch. Northrop Grumman at 40th place, her 40th largest donor, gave Tulsi $5,538. Jalo, I don't know if it's Hayo. It doesn't sound Spanish, so I'm guessing it's Jalo. I'm guessing it's like from Finland or some shit. But it's these oil distributors gave her $5,400. Raj Association, possibly Hindutva, gave her $5,400. Hindu American PAC gave her $5,000. Hella sus. BAE Systems gave Tulsi $4,000 total. Raytheon gave Tulsi $4,000. Okay. Oracle, who owns TikTok and employs former U.S. Army operatives, gave Tulsi $3,765. SpaceX gave Tulsi $3,500. Bills Engineering gave Tulsi $3,350 in 2015 and 2016. That is hella sus. And then someone mentally, so then there's Hinkle about the balloon. Again, people who are deep state operatives like Hinkle should not be armed. And then we can read more about Tulsi Gabbard is not anti-war. She's a nationalist hiding behind the mask of anti-intervention. So Tulsi Gabbard launched her 2020 campaign last month and wasted no time positioning herself as the anti-war candidate running on a platform centered around the issue of war and peace. Since she announced her candidacy, Gabbard has appeared regularly on the television cycle through her talking points, many of which sound similarly familiar to those Trump offered on the campaign trail in 2016. Her foreign policy stance clearly resonated with the core group of true believers who regularly take to social media to champion the Congresswoman and tout her so-called peace plan. Despite what she and her supporters claim, Gabbard is not the anti-war candidate. She's not opposed to war. She's opposed to U.S. involvement in some wars, even if it means doing nothing to help civilians who are being slaughtered by war criminals. She has accepted huge sums of money from the defense industry, expressed support for increasing the use of drone strikes, and hinted that she would consider using torture if she thought it was necessary. And like Trump, she believes in putting America first, regardless of global consequences. She is an anti-war. She's a nationalist, hiding behind a mask of anti-interventionism. Gabbard has situated herself as a peace advocate who isn't afraid to stand up for the voices calling for endless war. But a look at her own record reveals that she has personally benefited from those who stand to gain the most from war. Hella sus. So this sort of behavior is nothing new from LaRouche members. The LaRouche cult and their front group, the Schiller Institute, have a long history of claiming anti-imperialism while supporting anti-communist forces. During the Cold War, LaRouche was outspoken supporter of Ukrainian nationalists in their fight against the USSR. Lyndon LaRouche himself, even called the Soviets heathens, saying they lacked individual human thought. And this is This is from Subliminal Jihad podcast on Her Majesty's Secret Kill List, the conspiracy ontologies of Lyndon LaRouche.
If one studies the revolution in science unleashed in Europe by the work of Cardinal Nicholas of Pisa, and studies the work of the greatest scientists, such as Kepler, Leibniz, and Riemann, we recognize that the genius of Western European scientific progress lies in their Christian culture's emphasis.
It's kind of a long clip, so I'll let you guys have at it if you so choose. But it isn't just cult members posting anti-communist rants on Twitter. One of the lead organizers for the rally is the current chair of the Libertarian Party, Angela McArdle. While she claims the event is anti-war and against war in both Ukraine and China, as recently as 2021, she was posting to Twitter calling people scumbag and telling communists to go back to China. So, this is from webarchive.org. Bernie Sanders says right-wing Republicans in Sierra trying to call Gavin Newsom, yada, yada. And then McArdle responding to Bernie. Again, this is not an endorsement of Bernie. This is not an endorsement of Bernie. This is just the receipts. Okay? This is the receipts on McArdle here. McArdle says to Bernie, "You're a scumbag and enemy of the people. Stay the hell out of my state's politics before you hurt more working class people, you elitist monster." Lydia Santiago responds, "Move to Texas if you don't like how California is ran. We don't need right-wing maniacs here." McArdle responds to Lydia Santiago, "I'm not right-wing and I've lived here for 22 years. Go move to China. We don't need communist psychopaths here." Lydia Santiago responds, "I don't have a problem with California, so why would I move? California is one of the largest economies in the world. We are obviously doing something right. Does it need improvement? Sure. Nothing is perfect. If you don't like how people in California think, then do us a favor and pack your bags." Another right example is French right-winger Jack Posobiec. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I am not an expert in Slavic languages, but Jack Posobiec, who has recently begun to promote the rally. His disdain for China is very well known, and he often posts fake jokes about killing communists. He recently just posted, "Funk the CCP and shoot down their made in China balloon made with a made in the USA F-22." And there's the receipt here, and this is from web.archive. In case I wasn't abundantly clear, "Funk the CCP and shoot down their made in China balloon with a made in the USA F-22. I guess this is from the Wayback Machine. Again, in terms with some things on the internet, I'm like a total Neanderthal. Like I'm on some yabba dabba doo shit. Like imperialism is defined by Lenin in Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism. And there's a link to that. And it talks about imperialism being the highest stage of capitalism. Imperialism as the special stage of capitalism. So as the export of the capitalist system by a super monopoly. It isn't when big countries do big things. It's when the monopoly, currently the United States and its Western vassal states and organizations like NATO, flexes its control over the world. We see this with international banking, trade, regulation, sanctions, etc. For example, in late February of 2022, with a quick snap of its fingers, the imperialist hegemony forced Germany to cut all ties with Russian gas and halt the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, setting off a European energy crisis at the beginning of a long, cold winter. This was just another move in the push to force Russia's hand in Ukraine, which was ultimately successful. After this move and others, such as the Zelensky regime, stating that it would escalate the shelling of the Donbass region, Russia began their special operation just days later. So it wouldn't be anti-imperialist to support Russia. So wouldn't it be anti-imperialist to support Russia in the Ukraine conflict? Many are coming to this conclusion. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. The entire conflict, which goes back to the sabotage of the Soviet Union in 1991, benefits the imperialist hegemony by way of inflating weapons sales and prolonging dependence on expensive gas imported from the West. To support either side of this conflict is to support the conflict itself, which is an invention of NATO and Western imperialism. And there you go. The Muffin Man himself, McCain and Lindsey Graham, supporting the Ukraine. I don't want to reveal my IP address, so I'm not going to watch it. As Lenin put in a short essay, who stands to gain? To cheer on either side of the conflict is to cheer on the party which stands to gain, the party of imperialism. Choosing either side, choosing either Russia or Ukraine, is only reifying the conflict and ending it and letting it legitimacy in the eyes of the workers. The only way to be anti-war regarding the Ukraine conflict is to be anti-NATO, anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist. The correct stance is to call for an end to fighting in the region and for immediate peace talks. These talks must include NATO and U.S. forces leading Ukraine, new elections to expel the Western puppet regime of Zelensky and his Banderite nationalists, and autonomy for the Donbass regions. The left needs to move away from the idea that you must choose sides in imperialist proxy wars. There is such thing as good wars waged by capitalist powers. The left needs to stop falling for those who claim they're anti-war and anti-imperialist but not anti-capitalist. All wars started by the ruling class use working people as pawns to battle and maintain and uphold imperialism. But this doesn't mean the left should be entirely pacifist. Workers should always be prepared to fight the only just war, a class war to bring about an end to capitalism and its exploitation of the workers. And then with a quote by Mao Zedong, we don't want to fight even for a single day, but if circumstances force us to fight, we can fight to the finish. So, again, hella shady. Hella shady. And then there's the allegations against Caleb Maupin. So, I did get some screenshots. There we go. So, I got some screenshots of sketchy Alex Dillard posing as Ed Volody, who I guess is supposed to be some, like, Russian Jew or Polish Jew. I mean, clearly Ed Volody is a pseudonym of some sort. So, but I wanted to find so there you go. So it's a pretty long video. I think we'll end it here. So, yeah. But it's hella sus. Oh, and get this. Dillard on his Facebook page likes LaRouche. So that's hella sus. So, I mean, anyone with a brain can arrive at the conclusion that these are wreckers, that Caleb Maupin and his associates are wreckers and feds and glowies and shit, and that we can't trust them. So, yeah. So there you go. And shout out to Tom Smikovsky, who wrote this article. Big shout out. So there you go.